Hey, everybody. Have you ever had the feeling that people aren't listening to you? You're going down weird avenues and you just wish you could train your employees, train your customers, just like you would train your dog? Well, oh my gosh, I've got the best guest on today's show, Brady Foulk, and we are on Profit with a Plan podcast. Listen in. Hey, entrepreneurs, are you trying to make bigger profits in your small business? If you're like most of us business owners, increasing your profitability is always on your mind, and you're probably looking for ways to grow your revenue while growing your company. Well, you found a podcast that shares ideas to help you do just that. I'm Marcia Riner, known as the Profit Booster, and I'm a business growth strategist. I've helped tons of small business owners to establish and implement a tangible plan that guarantees increased profitability, guide your growth, and plans for a future exit. Because building a highly profitable and sale-ready business creates a win-win scenario. That's more money now and a windfall when it's time to let go. And I want to share strategies that I've learned with you on today's Profit with a Plan podcast. But before we get started, I have something special for you, just for you, my podcast audience. If you ever wanted to supercharge your business, avoid profit plateaus, operational headaches, and growth roadblocks, well, I've created a brand new Profit Booster playbook just for you. You'll uncover 3 essential strategies and the quick way to take action on them. This isn't just a single-page report. It's filled with impactful strategies, actionable steps, and expert guidance to elevate your profit. Go download these for free at boostingprofit.com. All right, so I'm excited to have my guest on today, Brady Foulk. He is a global keynote speaker, entrepreneur, philanthropist that has trained hundreds of people live on dog training, life, and psychology. A passionate and knowledgeable dog trainer whose expertise transcends conventional boundaries, with a rich tapestry of experience and certifications in dog training, life coaching, neuro-linguistic programming, that's NLP for you rookies, and ABA therapy. Brady has dedicated 6 years of his life to creating or crafting a perfect canine companions, whether it's honing their skills of dog service and instilling the sense of calm and security of emotional support animals. Brady's holistic approach resonates deeply with every furry friend and their loving owners, fostering a harmonious and enriched bond. Through this profound dedication and personalized approach, Brady has cultivated a community of dog enthusiasts who swear by his transformative methods, crediting him with the newfound joy and companionship for their 4-legged family members. This is going to be so fun, Brady. I'm so excited to have you on the show today. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I want your audience to know before we begin, if you have a dog, great. We're going to dive into some tips and tricks. We're going to kind of nerd out about it a little bit. But if you don't have a dog and you have a business and you have employees and leadership, we're also going to dive into how this is applicable to leadership and the people around you as well. So like you said it, great. My name is Brady, and I appreciate all you guys for being here for the next 25, 30 minutes.
Awesome. Thanks. So I want to play a little bit before I ask you this great question, but I just wanted to change my screen background of what I've been having tons of fun with that I just, if I could go find it, where did it go? There it is. So when you play with backgrounds, so I too have a furry friend, but my little friend, her name is Jasmine. She's a 9-year-old service dog who helps me around. And it's so funny. I moved to Vegas about 6 months ago. And of course, you got to have a before Vegas and an after Vegas picture. So she proudly wears the purple ears and purple tail and gets a whole bunch of pictures frequently when we're wandering around. But it's so fun. Dogs are just the best, I think.
Yeah, it's well deserved. Yeah, those ears are just magnificent, and the tail, and I bet she has so much personality too. And like, I can just imagine her just sitting with you at a restaurant or someplace out in public, and people are just like, "Can I take a picture of you and your dog?" Like,
Oh my gosh, I had to create an Instagram account just for her. It's called Rockin'
amazing.
with an I-N, Rockin' Jasmine.
I'm gonna go follow
Because
you.
she has so many pictures that are out there, and I just ask them to post, but that's kind of falling to the wayside.
Yeah, the dog Instagrams are the best. They're like no drama. They're just like cute pictures of dogs. I love it.
Exactly, exactly. So I thought I'd have fun and share with that. But okay, so we all have our stories of how we got into business and kind of tell me where you led from, getting into dog training and then how that transitioned kind of into helping people in their businesses as well.
Yeah, so I'm the oldest of six, and I've had to work since I was like 16 years old. So I've always kind of had a worker mindset. And then when I went out and found companies to work for, I wanted to find people who were doing it at their best so I can learn some things. So I went and worked at In and Out for one of my first jobs, which fast food, but they're one of the best fast food places out there. They got a lot of lessons to be
Culture.
learned. Uh-huh. Very good culture, like devoted people who love In and Out. I worked for Apple for a little bit. I worked for Amazon. And then ultimately I worked at a life insurance company and a small company. But as that was going good, that was my first like 9 to 5 job. I got my puppy, and everyone told me, don't get a dog. Like, you're 21 years old, 22 years old. Like,
You'll
come
never
drink
get
with us.
housing.
That too, right? I had to pay an extra deposit and everything's more expensive. And they're like, just don't do it. But knowing me, as you'll find out, if you tell me not to do something, I'm going to do it. And so I got the dog. And the first 6 months, I tried to bribe him a lot, and so I bought the best food, the best treats. He slept in my bed because he hated his crate, and
Of course.
yeah, right. But that didn't teach him how to tell me when he had to go to the bathroom or to not eat my carpet, which cost me my $1,000 deposit, and like, or the carpet cleaner that I had to go rent. Right, so I hit my rock bottom. But as all this was happening, I had been at this job for about 2, 3 years now. And things had started going slow. This was like 2019. And I was struggling with this with the puppy. They told me not to. I was the last one that they hired, and it was slowing down. So they're like, you're the last one hired, you're the first one out. So we're laying you off. This is in 2019. And I was like, oh man, okay, maybe I should have partied with them more. They would have kept me around longer, but it's okay. I got my dog. He's my best friend. And we're going through this. So I hit my rock bottom. Like I was telling you, the story, I went out with my friends for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I came home and there was the carpet torn up and like the poop and like Tools of
Ugh.
Titans, Tim Ferriss book, like the first 30 pages ripped out. And I was like, that was my new book. You couldn't have eaten the old book that I already read.
They go after. I had a dog that would only chew on my nice shoes that had a matching purse. So yeah,
I don't
it's
know
like
how
they
they know.
know.
Yeah, I don't get it. I really don't. So at this moment, I had already been helping like friends and family overcome things because I had overcome those problems with my dog. I had taught him how to be crate trained and coming when called, and how to even do some tricks like roll over. And now I've trained him how to get a beer out of the fridge and all sorts of different stuff, right? So in 2019, I was like, well, I'm just going to start making this a business for myself and just go off and do myself. I learned the things that I did about building a culture, customer facing business, how to do all those things in a sense, at least I thought I knew. And then I jumped into it. And so I was just charging $25 for a lesson. And then COVID hit, as everyone knows, and that was 2020, like 6 months after. So when I was starting to get some momentum and I had like my first few 10 clients or so, like COVID, and it was like, okay, now we can't go to parks or meet up or do any, I can't go to your house anymore. So then I was doing Zoom lessons, and eventually everything loosened up, right? And I was back to business a few years later, but that was an
And then a
interesting
new
point of
set
the
of
business.
clientele, because didn't they say the business was also not everybody got ended up, or COVID made everybody end up getting dogs, right?
That
And
too.
as well as babies, but you have COVID dogs that were used to having you around the house all the time. And when people went back to work, dogs didn't
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. That was a huge thing, like getting people ready for that transition back on their dogs, because everyone was letting their dogs sleep in their beds and they were home all day. So yeah, that was
Bad
good. But
habits.
yeah, you got to figure out sometimes in business how to survive. And I do jujitsu and martial arts, and part of being a white belt is you just have to survive. Like your goal is just to like make it through the bumpy parts, and then you build experience, and experience comes from um or success comes from experience, and experience typically comes from not so successful results, right?
Exactly.
So, uh but yeah, so now I'm living in Austin, Texas. I moved from San Diego like a year and a half ago, and I've rebuilt my business out here now, which is always a fun journey for marketing and all that good stuff. I lost
Yes.
all my organic leads and have to do it again. But
Awesome.
yeah, that's where I'm at now.
So, great story. I mean, we've all had our stories and how they connect us to what we're doing now. And I just love the idea that, you know, dogs who are a big part of many people's lives. So a lot of people like their furry, you know, children more so than their, you know, non-furry children. But
True.
you know, it's such a great opportunity of learning the life lessons that we need because we're raising an animal that doesn't communicate on the same planes that we do. So we have to learn different communication styles and methods to get them to be a healthy community partner in your home, right? So they're not chewing up your new book and tearing up your carpet and leaving presents for you when you come home.
It's terrible. Yeah, no, I believe dogs are spiritual animals. I think that they come to give you specific gifts, and sometimes like gifts people like typically, but problems are also gifts. You just don't like them as much, right? But they give you these opportunities to grow in a way.
Mm,
And then they
love it.
also love you unconditionally. So
I
they're
know,
there
right?
for you all the time, whenever you need. Even after there's been, I'll share a story later, but even with animals that are abused, they still can find love in their heart to forgive and to keep moving forward. So it's just a beautiful thing they give us.
Love it. All right. So, how do we translate dog training into a business culture? I know this is kind of an interesting way of having a pack mentality of sort, right?
Yeah, definitely. So you can use a lot of the things from dog training for the people and vice versa, people for the dog training. That's why I study NLP. I'm a big Tony Robbins person too. So anytime when you're defining a culture, you have to connect and appreciate their world
Mm.
and like connect and appreciate the world, mind, body, and spirit. So that is whenever I take in a dog or I get a new client, that's my first goal, like to see where you're at, where you want to go, and to understand where you're at. And there's a brilliant book called Fire Child, Water Child, which dives into more of the nuances of each of these characters. We can talk about that a little later, maybe, but body language is very important. So I'm watching the owner's body language. So if I say something and they make a weird face, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna ask some more questions or find out like what's going on about that. Is your dog jumping on you? Like what's happening around the house? Are you the spouse is not aligning? Because that's another thing, right? Because everyone has to be on the same page. So if one person wants them to sleep in the bed, but the other one doesn't, how do you work through that? And that's kind of like a business in itself too. You got disagreements and you gotta collaborate. So, but once you can connect and appreciate their world, that sets the cornerstone of, okay, like I know who you are, I know what you want. And then the next step is we're going to connect more and then we're going to get leverage. We have to understand we have to use pain and pleasure to make change a must. And we have to know like what will happen if we continue to allow this behavior to progress, right? And sometimes these behaviors they're slippery slopes or even they're like icebergs. They look cute on the surface, but when they start getting like some people like, oh, it's just my sandal. I don't care about my sandal. But then next thing you know, they're eating the matching shoe with the bag, and you're like, oh man, this just went way worse. Like I don't care about the $13 sandal, but this one I do. So
Exactly.
we got to make sure we got leverage. So those are the first two steps that I take people through with their dogs, and just like where are you at? Where do you want to go? And then why is this important to you? Like what's the pain it's causing you? Like the pain for me, it cost me my deposit, which I didn't have an extra $1,000. I had to stay up hours to clean the carpet, and like my dog was barking all the time. It was terrible.
Mm.
So you have to know those things and you have to see them as they are, not worse than they are, not better than they are, but like be honest with yourself.
Exactly. Once you can assess the position you're in, you can now make changes and make directions on it. But I'm sitting here thinking to myself, okay, so you have this animal, right? Body language is super important in having conversations with people, right? So if you walk up to your employee and go, "So great job you did on that report, Bob," right? You know, and you're all aggressive on him, Bob's going to go, "Whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean great job?" Right? And so it's the
Yeah.
same thing that we want to manage And I think that the correlation between the dog training and it shouldn't be taken negatively, listeners, that, dog training is not bad. Employee training, people training, even customer training is not that bad. It's just setting expectations of what they can expect from you and what you can expect from them, and what's the mutual rewarding situation out of all that, right? I mean, that sounds like what you were getting to in your description.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's different ways to lead. You can lead with intimidation and be like, you have to do this or you're fired.
Right.
You can lead with bribes and you can be like, hey, if you do this, you're going to get a bonus. But the thing is, not everyone likes money. Some people want a promotion. Some people want more responsibility. Some people want more time off with their kids, right? So it all kind of depends. That's where the understanding their world's important, because you need leverage. And if if you're using the wrong leverage with the wrong person, it doesn't make sense. It's kind of like the five love languages, you know?
Oh, I like
So,
that. I like that. And thinking about it with the dog, whether the dog is food motivated or
mhm,
attention motivated or task motivated, right? We all
mhm.
have employees and people in our lives, customers and spouses and employees that all have those kind of differences. How do you find
Yeah.
that out though? How do you know what motivates them? Obviously, with people, you can go up and ask, and if they're honest, they give it to you. But how do you find that out with the dogs?
Yeah, that's a fun one. You have to stay curious. You have to be at your result has to be like, I want to find out what motivates this person. And then you can ask certain questions for the dogs, right? Like you could just put out different types of food and see which one the dog goes to. But a lot of the times with dogs, I get a specific type of dog. I call them fire dogs, or sometimes they're wood dogs. And I'm looking at I break them down into five categories. So there's dogs who like to move a lot and they need to be exercised a lot. You can think of like huskies or German shepherds. They're just moving, going all the time. You got fire dogs, which these ones like variety. They like to see new dogs, see new things, go new places, chew on different things. They're not always doing the same thing. They like to explore. They're kind of like the class clowns in a sense, lots of zoomies. You got earth dogs, who are the homebodies. They're the grounded ones that like to connect with people. They're sleeping on the couch with you. They don't got to do much. They're very mellow in a sense. They kind of just want to be part of the family. You have metal dogs, which sometimes can be a little bit neurotic. There's a lot of rules, so you'll find them scratching at doors a lot of times. Like, this is how I get what I want, and they'll play the patterns over and over and over and over again, because like, this is what's supposed to happen when I do this, right? And they're kind
Trying
of
to
like the
train us,
just
right?
exactly. They're trying to change us. And then you got water dogs finally, and water dogs are more mellow. They're the more introverted ones. They're chilling. They're a lot of times like retrievers. They like the water too. They're homebodies. They like to get along with people, and they're pretty easy. But sometimes they'll daydream. People are like, my dog's stubborn. He doesn't listen to me, and like sometimes he's just daydreaming in his own world.
Love it.
So I look at dogs through that. So I get a lot of fire dogs and wood dogs, and it's important to know what motivates them, like we were just talking about. Like, a lot of times it's playing with toys, and play is a brilliant way. You can condition things over and over until it sticks, but it's got to be fun, and there has to be enjoyment behind what you're doing. And playing with toys a lot of times is motivation for them, and then just love and attention can be even motivation for them.
So you just described my soon to be 5-year-old grandson. So
Oh
he's the
yeah.
fire dog. He's always running around doing all the crazy things. He wants and needs attention and affection, but I mean it's all these things. So this you just describing dogs, you're actually describing the people that you're surrounding yourself with as well and what they
Yeah, I'm
need.
a fire child too. So I got in trouble. Like I said at the beginning, you tell me not to do something, I'm gonna be like, why shouldn't I do that thing? Dogs are the same way. You tell them,
Or
don't go
ask
over
for
there.
forgiveness after. Sorry, it looked fun.
Exactly. I'll figure it out later.
Exactly, exactly. And I think this is actually really cool because the correlations keep popping up in front of me, and which is why I wanted to have you on the show today, which was to really align that, training your dogs and getting them to be a good citizen in your environment and to be a good companion with you when you have such different signals that you're using also translates over into life and in your business, and how you can really truly increase the growth of your company, make it more of a better culture that you're in, keep better employees, have better clients, right? I mean, we've all had that customer that we're like, oh my gosh, why did I need to fire them, right? But we can train them the same way by understanding their world and communicating in a way that they see fit, whether it's playing more or letting them chill out and relax.
Yeah. No, there's a brilliant book called The 1 Minute Manager. And there's a story he tells about your employees. You're having a hard time motivating them at work. They're not doing what they're supposed to, right? The day ends, you go home, they go home, and then you decide to go bowling that night. And guess who's there? All of your employees. And you've never seen them with more energy. And it's so late at night and they're having a grand old time. And you're like, where is this energy when they're at work? What the heck? And a lot of it comes down to the rules of the games. Sometimes we wait until performance reviews to give feedback. And with dogs, I'm constantly looking to reinforce the behaviors that I like seeing. And even if you were to have a boss or an employee that you don't always complaining all the time, right? Always complaining, or a dog who's always barking or something like that. We don't gotta play in their sandbox and start yelling back at them or like going down the same route of them. We can just choose to ignore those and just reward the things, anything but complaining. So if they're saying, oh, this is my car broke down, okay. Like me and my wife are arguing, okay. Oh, like I hate my lunch today. And you don't give them any juice, right? You just like, right? And then they're like, oh man, I'm actually feeling a little bit better now. It's like, oh, that's
Thanks
amazing.
for
What are you feeling
listening.
better about? Yeah. But and then you reward that part. You're like, tell me more about what you're feeling better about. And then they start telling you more about what they're feeling better about. And then if they go back to the other pattern, you just ignore it again and you wait until they go back. And so that's 1 out of 8 ways to train a different behavior. And it's shaping the absence of the behavior. So you could do this with your mom on the telephone too. If your mom's always nagging you, right? You just don't play into their game of getting into an argument like you always do, and you wait until they say something positive and then you reward them for saying that. But it takes understanding and appreciating their world and waiting until you get that leverage.
That's a tough task to have when the dog is barking at the TV, or mom is nagging at you, or the employee is complaining. At that time, you're like, I've heard this for so many times. And I think that's where the leadership comes in, where you have to just go, I can deal with this in a way, and it'll be harder in the beginning, but it'll be better in the long term.
Yeah, let me point out a little nuance too, because what you described is extinction. Extinction is hoping something's just going to go away on its own, right? And that's another way you could solve it, right? Sometimes it works, but most often it doesn't work. And it only works if you put it on command. So sometimes I teach a dog to speak, and like I'll say speak, and I'll start barking like right, and then they'll start barking, and then I say good, and I'll give them a treat, and then I do this over and over again until I say speak, and then they bark, and then I just never give the command. And so part of it, that's the way extinction would work, right? Is you have to put it on command. So when you do it, and it's kind of like people who love to paint and they just paint for fun. And then I start paying you and start buying paintings from you.
And no
It's not going to
creation
be
comes
as
out.
fun. Yeah, it's just not as much fun anymore, right? So when you reward someone for something, it just becomes not as much fun. So you could put a negative behavior on command and never give it. That's the way extinction works. But when a dog's barking at me, sometimes the neutral reaction that I give is there's a blanket on top of the crate. And if they bark at me, I just put the blanket down. I don't yell at them. I don't tell them to stop. I don't do anything like that. I just put the blanket down, and they lose the permission of being able to see out the front of their crate. The moment that they're silent, just like the moment that they give you good feedback or something good, I lift the blanket back up. And now it's like back, right? If they start barking again, I just put it down, and we just kind of play this tennis match back and forth. So I'm present there, like their needs are met, but I'm just not playing into their game of being like, shh, stop, because like they just want attention from you, right? So I'm not giving them the attention, just like your mom or the employee wants. And then I'm only rewarding them. So as soon as they settle down, I'll say, great job, way to go. And I'll drop a treat in the crate, right? Or like something else, right?
Right.
Or sometimes it's just my voice. So there's
I
a
love
difference
it.
between extinction of just like hoping something goes away, which is what a lot of people do, and then consciously, intentionally rewarding the absence of it and what you do want them to do.
Right. I love it. I love it. That's a really, really valuable skill to be able to have with everybody around you. Everybody around you. I mean, wow, I just went through a dozen different relationships I could use that in that would improve it and make it better. So, all right, I have homework that I'm definitely gonna employ. But you mentioned there's 8 of them. So if that's one or two, the extinction
Mhm.
and acknowledging that they, what the activity that they are doing and you don't want them to do, what are some of the other ones?
Yeah, they come from this brilliant book, and then I'm leading a book club, and it's based on this book called "Don't Shoot the Dog." Oh, come
Oh,
on, blurry screen.
oh,
Anywho, I'll
blurry.
show you
That's
guys
okay.
later. You guys can follow me on my Instagram and send me a DM, and I'll send you the link for it. But this book goes over all 8. So the first one is you could shoot the dog, right? You could just get rid of them,
You're
right? And a lot of
fired.
people,
Not literally
exactly.
shooting the dog, but yes.
Exactly. You get a divorce, you fire the employee, right? You do something like that. The next method is punishment, right? You start implying fines or physical punishment. You start hitting them or smacking them. Sometimes it gets behavior to change because people just don't want to be punished, right? That's where
Mm,
that punishment one comes in. You got extinction, which I kind of talked about, and then you got negative reinforcement. Negative reinforcement is like if you go to your grandma's house with your shoes on and you forget to take them off, and they just keep, or I have clients that they want their shoes taken off and I don't know it at first, and then they just keep looking at me like,
the
is he going to
glare,
take
the
his
mean
shoes off?
mug.
Uh-huh. And then as soon as I take off my shoes, it goes away. And so that's negative reinforcement. It's like your seatbelt beeping at you until you put it on, right? So you could just nag someone until they change your behavior, but it's not a very pleasant way to get behavior, but it works, right? So all of these work, but they all come with consequences. So those are the 4 kind of like and ways. And then the 4 good ways are you train an incompatible behavior. So training an incompatible behavior, that means something that does not work with the current behavior. So for dogs, a lot of times dogs run to the front door when people come.
Right.
So I train them when they hear the knock, which is the trigger typically, like the knock happens and then they run to the door and then people come inside and it's rewarding for them. So I train dogs when they hear the knock, they run to their crate. So running to their crate is incompatible with running to the front door.
Mm,
So I'm
got it.
looking for ways that like I mix up the signal in their brain. So I just find out whatever the trigger is and I change that. So if a dog is barking at other dogs on a walk, and this is the one I use most, is why I'm kind of diving down into it. Cause like my brain's always like, what's incompatible with this behavior, right?
Right.
So if a dog is barking at someone at another walk, what's incompatible is them looking at me, or if they're searching for treats on the ground, or they playing with a toy, or them jumping through my arms or doing something, right? So I want to change their focus to something, anything. A lot of times people are like, stop barking, stop jumping. And when you say
Yanking and
stop,
choking on them. Yeah.
yeah, when you say stop, you're just putting more energy towards that thing. Like if you tell me not to do something, I'm going to do it, right? If I tell you stop thinking of a banana, you may not even have been thinking of a banana, but now I
Now I'm
said
seeing
stop thinking of
bananas.
it.
Thank you.
Exactly. So you train an incompatible behavior. Um, you know more?
This is great. Well, yes, finish up the 3 more that, and you don't have to give us the full education on them, but give us the highlights on them because I'm sure you've got, options for us to delve in more with.
Yeah. So you got shape the absence of the behavior, which is the other one, which we talked about, the nagging mom, which is really cool. You have change the motivation. And this one is the most profound one of them all because this one involves like the holistic approach. And I was training a dog, and she was aggressive with the cats. She would run away from them. She didn't like food or toys. She was like one of the most challenging dogs that I've ever had. And so I was like, okay, how do I'm connecting and understanding her world. She doesn't like a lot of things. I get it. Like, what are the things she does like? So she liked tuna and she liked to be chased around the yard. So she kind of likes to play, but it's on her terms.
Yes.
Um, And so I'm finding the leverage points and I'm understanding your world. And so I'm like, okay, what do I do? So I show up to their house, and I grew up in a big family. My house was always chaotic and messy. But I walked in this house and it even made me feel a little overwhelmed. I don't know if anyone's ever walked into a house like that, but I walked in and like there was boxes stacked up and like narrow, and this is in California. So the house is a little bit smaller sometimes too. And like I noticed the dogs and the cats, like they don't always get in a fight, but there's a lot of
A
tight
lot of
corners
bumping
around
into
the
each
house.
other.
A lot. And neither of them had their own space,
Mm.
right? So training an incompatible behavior is like you guys can go different ways, even, right? But just looking at it like, okay, the house, we could clean a little bit and create some more space for them. And then when we would open up the door to go out to their backyard, their dog Fuchsia would just run away, right? And she would just like start running around the trees, and like they would play chase. And so they would chase her around, and it was like this fun little game. But the problem is, if you were anywhere else, it's a very dangerous behavior. Your dog runs away from you all the time.
Right.
So
Instead of come sit, right?
exactly, which is incompatible with running away. So what we had to do is we opened the door. She ran out. We like took a second. We called her to see if she would come. She didn't. So then we went back inside. We shut the door and we started having a party inside by ourselves. We started dancing and screaming and like, woo. And then next thing you know, she's like running back to the back door. And she's like, what are you guys doing in there? And then we open the door and she's like, oh, I know what happens when you open the door. I run away. And she takes off again. So then we shut the door and we start having a party again. Woo! So like this is training compatible behavior in this moment.
Mm.
And also getting leverage on her and be like, hey, you run away. We're having a party inside. Don't you want to join us? So by like the fifth or sixth time, we opened the door, and instead of just taking off, she was like,
What's
what are you
going
guys
on
doing?
inside?
Can I join you? So we started changing in her mind what this meant. And then finally, for the cats, helping clean the room helped, but we have to also condition these things. So we set up a gate, and like the dogs on one side and the cats on one side. And we got some tuna. It's like one of the few things that she really, really enjoyed, and so did the cats. And we associated see their face, get yummy tuna. See their face, get yummy tuna. See their face, get yummy tuna.
Training. Yeah. I
And
love it.
sometimes this happens with bosses at work, right? You're in a pissed off state. Your boss is in a pissed off state. They see your face, and like it triggers a whole chain of events. So you need to and then you could be pissed off at your boss. You could go home, and then you could just be pissed off at your girlfriend, and you could associate in your head, my girlfriend pisses me off because you're pissed off seeing her face. You're pissed off seeing her face. So we want to switch that. And so we want to
Mm.
be really happy. This is a special time during the day, and we're going to reward you both, see their face, be really happy. So those are the three steps that we took to change the environment of the house. And that's the last step of these like good ones, right?
Wow. So I can
Um,
totally see how these could be, yeah, your examples are in training animals, but in reality, as you just explained, the examples can be between partners and employees and even customers on how to train them how you want to act with them. And as I tell my grandson, who's just it's a challenge at times, but I mean, it's like if you want your friends to like you, you have to be nice to them first, right? You have to initiate the behavior you want from everybody else. And
yeah,
even
so
even
true.
if it's faked at the beginning, pretty soon it'll become a habit in yours that every time you walk in the door to your spouse or partner, you've got this smiley face on it, and it becomes a habit. So I love that story. I mean, it really can make a difference. But like any training, right? It doesn't happen overnight. It took you 6 or 7 times with the dog running around outside for him to go, hey, there's something going on
Yeah.
inside. I don't want to be outside by myself anymore.
That is a really important nuance because that allows choice, right?
Mm.
I want the dog to make the choice of I want to come inside. I don't want to have to force you. I don't want to have to bribe you, right? I want you to feel like you want to be with me, and then I'm going to reward you for doing that. Oh, it's one of the dogs.
Speaking of
Okay.
background noise, right? It's normal with
Yeah.
the with everything, but I can totally see that also with a situation where you've got an employee that you want to achieve a goal, right? And you have to figure out what that motivation is and what their reward love language is, and how you can change the situation, especially in today's environment where it's difficult to hire, it's difficult to get the kind of help that you want. many of my clients are constantly, struggling to find good employees, good team members. And I think if you were able to get one that you thought would be really good, that value and that training on your part and on their part would be worth the investment, because then you have a good employee that wants to achieve those goals for the company.
Yeah, no, it's the truth. If you invest in good quality employees, it pays off. It's amazing how many people just hope for a good employee, and it's not how it works. You have
Not a
to,
plan, right? Hope isn't a
yeah,
plan. It's
uh-uh.
you got to do the right activities and so on coming in. And I love how the correlation between the training of the dogs and the training of the people around you can really make things a lot easier, and you can get a lot more things that, what's the saying, you can get a lot more with honey than you can with vinegar, and all those old grandma
Yeah.
sayings that, they come to mind. But I think that that's really the direction we want. If we want to bring more people in, whether it's marketing, you communicate in the style that they want, right? Solving the problem they want, hanging the carrot, or stopping the fire from burning behind them. It's the same thing. It's the same mentality that you have with the dog training. And I think that that's just fantastic. It's a big aha. An audience, I hope you're finding this big aha with me here.
Yeah, I love when people see this for the first time because I'll be like, dog training is like training kids, and then they'll get really offended. And I'm like, well, not how you guys are intending it, right? I just mean like there's certain similarities in your prefrontal cortex and like how they create associations. Like if you're pissed off and you see their face, it's like, let's work to make sure our employees are in a happy state, right? We're going to make sure that we understand the world and what's important. And, some people you can pay less, but you can let them off work an hour early. And that would mean way more to them than making them work their 9 hours where they're not even doing anything for the last 2 hours, just thinking about their kids, and they're getting pissed off at you because like this job is stupid. I'm gonna go find a job I can work at remotely. And like there's just so many options nowadays that it pays to really understand your employee's life and to ask questions and to be curious instead of just being like, I say it's like this, so it's like this. And positive
Mm.
isn't permissive. I'm not saying like you go and give your employees every single thing that they want, right? I don't give the
No.
dogs everything. There's rules like in Monopoly, but there's certain things that you can go and like be mindful of and accommodate for.
And I think you'll get a lot more out of everybody around you if you do that, if you look at the world that way.
Yeah,
So,
if you treat them
hey,
like a human instead of just like your
like a
employee.
dog. Like a dog.
Yeah.
Don't treat him like a dog. It's also the wrong side on there. All right, Brady, this has been fantastic. I mean, I have gotten so many ideas and correlations. And I too, like I showed in the picture, I've been a dog owner all my life. So I've had good training and bad training. But I think that this can go on through our people skills as well. So where can listeners find out more about you and your programs and your dog training and how it could relate to people training?
So I believe what you write, you invite. And years ago, I wanted a dog who could ride a skateboard. And that was always something that was like on my bucket list, and it's written down. And this is the year I got a new puppy. She's 8 months old now. And I was like, I'm teaching her how to ride a skateboard. This is going to be awesome. And so I went on Amazon, I ordered a kid's skateboard, and this thing came in and it was like this big. And I was
And
like,
how
I
big's
thought it
your
was going to
dog?
be like, she's like 25 pounds, but she's much
Okay.
bigger than the skateboard, right? It's not like she's a chihuahua. Uh, and so I was like, I have to return this thing. And my brother is helping me with his social media, and he's like, no, you have to teach her how to write it. And I was like, wow,
Up
this
there with
is
the
so
little
much
feet and the
harder.
body hanging over the edge.
Yeah. And she's so, but it really did help. I got a big skateboard too. So I actually trained on the big skateboard and we worked it down from kindergarten to PhD. So it's taken us, we're at like a month now of practicing. So she's able to ride this skateboard, and I got her a bigger one too to take her outside. And so I'm
Nice.
sharing all this journey and some dog training tips and tricks. So what I encourage people to do is give us a follow on Instagram. And if you want to join the book club that I mentioned, or if you want this leadership PDF that I have or your dream dog PDF, DM me book club or dream dog or leadership PDF, and I'll send it to you. And give us a like, give us a follow, and watch Curiosity on our journey and shredding down skate parks and I share tips and tricks and all sorts of good stuff like these podcast interviews on there too.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So where do we find it?
Right? That's a big question. So you can go to N as in Nancy, D as in Drew, dog training. So it's ND dog training.
Perfect. All right. I'm going to see how as I was mentioning earlier today, to you, off camera, my grandson and I were looking through the videos and I'm like, oh my God, look at this. And this was this cat on a treadmill. There was another cat on the side pushing the treadmill, but the treadmill was on. So the first cat just jumped on and then obviously tumbled off. And then he went, wait a minute. And I'm like, then he got on and he tumbled. The third time he actually started walking on it. And the other cat is just pushing it like this. It was the funniest thing. So it is possible to have, what do you call them? Stupid animal tricks that you could watch on there. But I'm sure that
So many.
the training, we can get more out of, and who doesn't want to see a cute dog on a skateboard, right? All right,
Yeah.
Brady, thank you so much for doing this. And listeners, I hope you found a couple of ideas that you can use from dog training to put into your business that will help you be more profitable, such as managing employees, managing relationships, even managing those clients and getting them to come back more often, to have a better relationship with you. So I think that these ideas are actually transferable into the business. And I hope you saw that and can see some of these ideas in there. As I mentioned before, if you would like to supercharge your business, go download my new Profit Booster Playbook packed with 3 strategies and actionable steps that you can use to make your company and this year be even more profitable than ever. Go grab it for free at boostingprofit.com. And as always, we would love to hear your questions and feedback. Tell us we'll call it a trick, you're going to put into your business from dog training, and put it in the comments and tell us what you're going to do. And no, you can't go to your employee and say, sit, right? Give us your trick that you want to do, and then tell us how it went for you and come back. And Brady and I will respond on the comments and definitely put it up on his Instagram as well. And while you're at it, please subscribe. You don't want to miss future podcasts. You can always catch Profit with a Plan on any of your favorite podcast players. And we're looking forward to more great profitable information on next week's show. So until then, make your plans and profit with them. Thanks so much, Brady.
Thank you.